بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream, where we begin today in the reading of Tafsir. And to give you an update, our goat is doing well, and IDC has made a tent over our goat. Correct, IDC? What did you just build for the tent, the goat? A tent. What's that? Hat. Goodies? Ooh, that's a book for sure. And this is a who knows what. What is this goodie? Alif, you're going to open these after we're done. Okay? Goodies. We got goodies. I mean, we got goodies. We got a goat. And our goat's doing good, alhamdulillah. He's living out his last 2 weeks. Ali, see you ready to do the udhiyah? Okay, good, very good. We're going to be, you want to open these up for us? Reading from Tafsir al-Qurtubi, which is one of my favorite tafsir, and of course one of the favorite tafsir of many, many people. Neither is he too short nor too long. When he enters into a tafsir, he gives you, like many of the great tafsir, Al-Baghawi does this too. He'll give you some lugha, some asbab al-nuzul, and ahkam. So that's what tafsir is. قال في تفسيره بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ودوا لو تدهنوا فيدهنون. The kuffar wish for you to be fake about your religion. This is what the kuffar wish for you to be. Mudahana is to be a fake, is to be someone who basically says falsehoods about his religion for the sake of the dunya. That's mudahana. And why would they love you to do that? So that you slowly can become a hypocrite, essentially. That's the idea. That is al-mudahana. Then there is a lawful type of mudahana, and that is where you're not selling out your religion. You're just glazing someone for a worldly benefit, as you guys call it. Praising and glazing him up, and we used to call it in the old days, buttering him up. You butter up the person for the worldly benefits. No lies, but you're just saying, man, you built an amazing company. This is so amazing. Did a great job. But that's for the worldly benefit. But to sacrifice your religion, to do something haram, to say something false for the sake of the ruler or some rich person or some powerful person, that is what is sinful. Ibn Abbas and Atiyah and Dhahak said, and Sudi said, وَدُّوا لَوْ تَكْفُرْ فَيَتَمَادَوْنَ عَلَى كُفْرِهِمْ. So here, al-mudahana is at the highest level, which is leaving Islam altogether. Let's do the unpacking here live. So, whoa, mushaf? إن هذا لشيء عجيب. Whoa, أعطيني. Wow. Look at this amazing. Can you all see? This is the Maghribi script, ya qawm. Zoom in to the Maghribi script. You see that, folks? هذا هو الخط المغربي. And how beautiful is that? Actually, you know what, Edifun? Omar? Take some pictures with your phone and upload the picture onto the stream. Here, let me do it then. Ali, here, you have wudu? No. I'll do it. Someone take pictures here.
Is it sold or is it like a one of one? Is it like a sold copy or like a one of one? Seems like
No, it's a copy. They made the Maghribi script, Mushaf bil-Khatt al-Maghribi. So Ibn Abbas says that the ayah has to do with Quraysh having, wanting them to have the highest level of mudahana, which is kufr completely. And some people do this. There are some people that will utter words of kufr for the support or for the love or for a job or for what, sometimes just to be accepted. It's pathetic. They will utter words of, in academia I saw it all the time. I'm not kidding you, all the time. In academia, Islamic studies departments, people would laugh at a verse, or they'll say something like, guy will say to that, well, what do you say about like 434 or something? And the guy, I'm still wrestling with that. Wrestling? That was a gift, yeah. Oh, look at these neat gifts. Look at this one here. Now, this is not sold yet, but Sheikh Noor Saunders has a company. And he gave us this wonderful mug. Al-Malikiyya, it says. And another hoodie. Look at this hoodie. It says Al-Athariyya wal-Ash'ariyya wal-Maturidiyya. These, yeah. Yeah. Be careful of mudahana, trading your religion for the dunya. And some people, they do worse than this. They trade their religion for another person's dunya. They don't even benefit from it. Such as the mufti who is used by the state. A mufti who gets used by the ruler. What are you getting out of it? As soon as he's done using you, he throws you away. So someone who sells his deen, take care, Ali, for someone else's dunya. وَدُّوا لَوْ تُرَخِّصْ لَهُمْ فَيُرَخِّصُونَ لَكَ. Now, it's all in context. In the context of Quraysh, what did they want? There's no ahkam shar'iyya yet, really, at the time, for the Muslim to give up. There's tawheed, and that's it. Only tawheed. Another gift. What is this for? Oh, this is for our slaughter. Safina colored.
What is this one?
Plum. That's the.
That's like a small version.
Oh, whoa. This is to slaughter.
Oh, that's what we're using.
This is a Safina plum purple colored blade with the Safina Society logo on it. Look at that. Safina Society logo on the blade, so that Omar and Ali will be saying Bismillah.
By the way.
Yes. This is amazing. And it has a case. Yes.
Like an event for the kids.
An event for the kids to attend the slaughter.
And help with the slaughter. And then we have Sheikh Imran give a lesson on the rulings of it.
Yes, we can do that for the middle school and the high school, and everyone can attend that, and that's good. I think at a certain level, that's a good. At a certain age, they're ready to attend and watch a slaughter, and we just have to ask or see where are we going to do the slaughter in the first place. Behind the gate, not on the grass though. Yes, plenty of space. Remember when we did the book shredding there? Oh, okay. There's plenty of space. But just make sure that we don't get the back lawn all bloody. Yeah. So all you have to do is you dig a hole, and then you lean the goat down, and then you slaughter it. And the blood goes in the hole. But what are we going to do after that? Where are we going to take it? Where are we going to skin it? Yeah. So we need someone's truck. We wrap it up, right? Where you just put it on something to carry it so it doesn't get bloody or the grass and drip everywhere. Put it on the back of someone's truck and take it to the butcher. He'll skin it. And by the way, we want the skin. Make sure, Omar, we get the skin. Oh, mashallah. This is great. Is this for slaughtering a chicken?
There's like a separate this or something.
It goes with it.
It goes with it?
Yeah, this is really. Hey, so I'm gonna make sure I'll find the butcher for you. I'll find the person who'll skin it for you. I'll find that person. I know someone. Okay. And he'll skin it, and he'll take the guts out, and he'll give you all the pieces that are edible, and he'll give you the skin, the fur. I'm all about the fur. The fur. I'm all about the fur. In the time of Quraysh, there was only one thing to sacrifice, which is the Tawheed. So when it says, وَدُّوا لَوْ تُدْهِنُوا وَيُدْهِنُونَ فَيُدْهِنُونَ, they wish that just cut corners on Tawheed. Now for us, no despotic ruler is going to tell the alim, cut corners on Tawheed, but he'll say cut corners on other things. Okay? Dr. Sebastian Longstaff, what's the age for slaughtering animals in front of kids? What's the age for that? 9, 8, 10, 7?
Even little kids are back then.
Not only that, in the Amazon rainforests, they did the slaughter themselves of animals. They hunted and slaughtered themselves. So it's all relative, but let's see what Dr. Sebastian Longstaff says. Okay. Let's continue reading. Al-Fara'an al-Kalbi said, لَوْ تَلِينَ فَيَلِينُونَ لَكَ, to be lenient, to soften up on the religion so that they could soften to you. Soften up a little bit. Wal-Iddihan, he says. Al-Iddihan is at-talyin, softening. Just like lotion softens the skin. لِمَنْ لَا يَنْبَغِي لَهُ التَّلْيِينَ. So al-Iddihan is to soften where it's not appropriate, where you should not soften. Softening where you should not soften. That's what al-mudahana is. Okay? Al-mudahana. وَدُّوا لَوْ رَكَنْتَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَتَرَكْتَ الْحَقِّ. They wish that you could soften up on the truth a little bit. Soften up on this stuff a little bit. Go easy. That's why you have to learn Sharia. You have to know where is it good to soften up and where is it good not to soften up. Where is it allowed to soften up? So for us, if there's any room to accommodate somebody, that would entail that any room that's something is permissible, we should do it. We should accommodate. We should be accommodating. We should be accommodating. And that's why we have to learn the 4 schools of thought in Islamic jurisprudence so that when we're dealing with somebody and there's an opportunity to be accommodating to them, then we should know what the 4 schools of thought are and we should accommodate them. And it's not promoting laziness. That's not what we're doing. We're not promoting laziness and things like that, but we're accommodating. Right? And to accommodate, you need a firm position where this is something that, yes, we can accommodate on this subject matter. Right? This is a subject matter upon which we can accommodate. How does that look? We can get all 4 eventually. At Safina Society, for those who are watching, who are new to the organization as a whole, the organization stands for the traditional Ahl Sunnah as it's known and taught at Al-Azhar University for centuries. And that is the 4 madhabs and their schools of theology, which are the Ash'ari and the Maturidi and the Hanbali / Athari, because I know some of them like to call it Athari. So whichever it is, la mushahata fil istilah, but it is Hanbali because it's their books and their ijtihad, right? Nonetheless, we're not going to argue over a term. And it's to have spirituality through the works of Hikam ibn Ata'illah and Al-Ghazali and Abdul Qadir al-Jailani. And it's to be concerned with the ummah. Alifun. By the way, folks, Alif is making his debut here under the care of Omar. Omar is here moving up to the executive producer level. He's getting bumped up and Alif is at the helm. So at the helm will be Omar or Alif going forward. But Alif is a young man who is now at the helm. And I would like you, Alif, to go and do your first fire up, which is go and find the Colombia president, get booed off the stage because of what she did not do for Mahmoud Khalil. Part of the If Nothing But Facts live stream is concern for the ummah. We don't want to be the type of person who is just focused narrowly on theory and forgets the world. Find us a good video, Alif, load it up, fire it up, and when you're ready to show it, let me know. Because Colombia, they fired her. They fired last year's president. She resigned, maybe. She did such a horrible job. Well, this year's president didn't do much a better job. She allowed a man who has said far less than, let's say, a Jewish student like Dave Smith, sorry, a Jewish guy. Dave Smith is like a hero these days. He's a champion on anti-Israel talk these days. And he destroyed the career of Douglas Murray. Dave Smith basically I think Douglas Murray actually just kicked himself. But Dave Smith was there to finish it off. Now, Dave Smith, all these other people did far, far less than Mahmoud Khalil said. And yet Mahmoud Khalil gets arrested. His life is not ruined. It's not ruined. His life is going to be far better, inshallah, because he's suffering for the sake of God, for the sake of the truth, which is for the sake of Allah. And so, but she did nothing. Absolutely zero. That's how you stand up for your students. So she got rightfully booed off the stage. I don't know if they actually knocked her off. She actually left the stage. She couldn't talk. Alif, are you ready? Take your time, but crop that properly now. Crop that. Yeah, there you go. Clean it up. There you go. And now make it a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Look at these fast learners. He's a fast learner. New generation of at the helm. Does that mean we have to change the intro? At the helm. Put Alif. All right. He has fired up his first. Can they hear?
Good morning, class of 2025. I know that many of you feel some amount of frustration with me, and I know you feel it with the administration.
Some of them are thinking of canceling. I'm thinking of canceling graduations altogether. Oh, I've looked that up. Universities canceling graduations altogether.
Because of Muslim.
Today, the mudahana is not going to be about worshiping another god. No one's going to pressure somebody, unless you're in India maybe, to worship another god. What they're going to pressure you to do is take the wrong position on the matter of their interest. Read me that. NYU withholds diploma from a student who denounced the war. Tell me about this. How insane is this? New York University said it is withholding the diploma of a student who condemned genocide in Gaza while delivering a graduation speech on Wednesday. Listen, people we despise, we are enemies with, like Charlie Kirk, are now speaking out against this stuff. They're like, hold on a second. Yeah, we love Israel. We're the biggest Zionists in the world. We're the biggest neo-Christian whatever in the world. Christian nationalists. But you're going to take away American free speech because of Israel? We don't take American free speech. We don't take free speech away for the sake of America. A guy could stand up and give a speech today telling the world how terrible the United States is and its history is, and it is right now, and he'll be applauded and nothing will happen. It won't even make the news. But here you have an NYU student giving his speech for graduation, and he says that there's a genocide going on in Gaza, which is how many of these official bodies have characterized it. And yet the university is withholding his diploma. Have you ever heard anything like this? A move the university called a violation of the students' commitment to comply with school rules. Why are they school rules? Because it's the rules of the donors. At the end of the day, the biggest donors, like the Patriots owner, what's his face? Robert Kraft, I think he's a big donor to either NYU or to Columbia and all these other places, and they're going to withhold their donations. And that's why these are the school rules. These are the school rules because in their eyes, we won't have a school if we don't please these big mega donors like Robert Kraft. Logan Rozos is the speaker we're talking about. He told members of his graduating class that, as I searched my heart today in addressing you all, the only thing that is appropriate to say in this time and to a group this large is a recognition of the atrocities currently happening in Palestine. NYU then strongly denounced the choice by a student at Gallatin School's graduation. Okay, in a statement they released after the ceremony. Commencement season on U.S. campuses comes amid the Trump administration's ongoing crackdown on students who engage in pro-Palestine demonstrations. Earlier this year, NYU was among the universities cited by the DOJ, Department of Justice, as having experienced incidents of anti-Semitism. You know, it's so funny because the right hates this playing with language. When they say a man is a man, a woman is a woman, right? And the woke just turns language and flips out. You're doing the same exact thing right here because they're merely talking about the behavior of somebody and conflating that with hatred of their identity. In his speech, Rozos repeatedly referred to Israel's actions in Gaza, not their identity of the IDF soldiers, Israel's actions as a genocide, which he said was politically and militarily supported by the U.S. and paid for by our tax dollars. He said his remarks are intended to speak for all people of conscience, all people who feel the moral injury of this atrocity. Cheers erupted from the crowd when he first mentioned Gaza. This is why youth are so important. It's because they're not in the nitty-gritty of paying bills yet, and they're not tied to 50 different people in order to pay their bills. They're not. And as a result, they could view the world from a purely idealistic perspective. And there's a reason Allah Ta'ala created these different age groups. They balance each other out. Cheers erupted, and they began applauding. And some NYU faculty stood up and applauded. Some also booed. Without naming Rozos, Beckman said the student speaker, so he's now nameless. He cannot even be named. That's how bad. That's the sin he committed. Lied about the speech he was going to deliver and violated the commitment he made to comply with our rules. All right, so maybe you have rules, but the world has bigger rules, and sometimes those are more important. That's the truth. Sometimes there are causes where you got to break some rules. And this isn't like a federal law, a state law. No, this is just an organization's law. So now let's suffer the results of the organization. You think now, let's see what field he's in. Let's see he's in the field of law or IT or something. When he doesn't get his diploma, does that make him less knowledgeable in the field? Right? Like if you did 4 years of computer science at MIT, and then you angered everybody and they refused to give you a diploma, did your knowledge of computer science go down? Right? In the interview, nothing's going to change. Your knowledge is your knowledge. Now his name is out there. Somebody who sides with his view is not going to care about the actual piece of paper. So he's going to pay his price, and it may not affect him at all. They're withholding his diploma while we pursue disciplinary actions. What other disciplinary action can you do? Suspended from being on the campus? Who cares? He graduated. We're not going to accept your kids? Who cares? We're not going to give you a diploma? That doesn't decrease his knowledge and his experience. Go back up that last paragraph. The school is deeply sorry that the audience was subjected to these remarks. Oh, so that's what you're sorry about. You're sorry that some pro-Zionist students had to hear that their people are doing a genocide, but he is not sorry at all for the, what are we at, 80,000, 100,000 people between dead, killed, injured, displaced, starving. We're reaching way beyond that. If we add starving, displaced, we're into way beyond 100,000. So we're not sorry about that. We're deeply sorry for the Zionists who cannot hear the fact that he's committing a genocide. They can't even hear the words. And that this moment was stolen. Stolen? Are you sure you want to use that word? This guy's tripping all over himself. That's the theft that you're worried about. And not the theft of people's lives and homes and land that we're talking about here. Who abused a privilege that was conferred upon him. Yo, this guy totally messed it up, this Beckman guy. Okay, whoever this guy is. That's what he's sorry about, and that's what he calls us to be stolen. All right, keep going up. CNN reached out to Rozos and NYU for further details. Rozos' student biography was no longer on the Gallatin's website as of Thursday. So he's a murtad. He has to be treated like an apostate whom all of his memory is deleted. You know that in Islam, if someone were to apostate out of Islam, we would delete everything about him, right? From the state ledger. Everything would be deleted. Just like if you were to do something totally against, if you're in a church and a guy converts or becomes an atheist or whatever, don't you think that church is going to delete his name from the thing? So that's the capital crime. One of the marks of that in any organization, in any group, the mark of you turning your back on the most important unifying force of that group is that they have to erase you completely. And that's not good or bad. It all depends on what the issue is. So here, clearly, to utter a word against the donors, to make it clear. I don't think NYU has loyalty to Israel. They have loyalty to their donors. If Israel did not have these donors, if the Zionists were not the biggest donors to NYU, this would not be an issue. Guaranteed. Fast forward in 100 years, if Chinese, Indian, various Americans are the biggest donors, that's who you can't speak out against. This has nothing to do with loyalty. I don't think anyone is loyal from their heart outside of actual Jews, Zionist Jews, to the state of Israel. Maybe, possibly, the fooled and brainwashed evangelical types who've been fooled by the different renditions of the Bible that came out. What do they call that Bible? That Bible. No, not that one Bible that has basically rewrote the verses to indicate that, or to point to the fact that Christians need to establish Israel in order for Jesus to come back.
Oh, written by that. Yeah.
And it's that Jews don't have to follow Jesus. They're good on their own. The doctrine is called dispensationalism. And
Schofield?
yes, that's it. The Schofield Bible. But these people, these liberals, right? What did they do when George Floyd was killed? How crazy did they go? And rightfully so, right? I'm not saying that as a negative. That's one person. What about 100,000 people? And if you just add the categories of like displaced, you go rocket that number and multiply it manyfold. So these people are about the donors. Keep that in mind. Rozos majored in cultural criticisms and political economy and was a member of the Gallatin Theater Troupe. Okay. He was selected by fellow students to give the program's commencement address. The commencement ceremony for all of NYU was held Thursday. Keep going. The ADL condemned this divisive and false comment. Okay. And thanked NYU, of course. At the same time, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, defended the pro-Palestinian anti-genocide commencement address and called on NYU to release the student speaker's diploma. CARE described the ongoing disciplinary actions against those who engage in pro-Palestinian protest as a betrayal to American freedoms and the American people. The whole, keep going down, the whole sentiment, the whole pro-Israel sentiment, it strikes at two things here in America. Number one, freedom of speech, but number two, the entanglement with foreign nations that the founders of the country warned against. They warned that we should never have any entanglements, meaning permanent alliances with any foreign nation. To have temporary alliances, temporary animosities, but no permanent alliance to become entangled now with foreign. George Washington said that very early on, and it's just a commonsensical thing that makes sense. Students and faculties last year were arrested at NYU as protests were held across American universities. The university filed more than 180 conduct cases against students and faculty tied to demonstrations over the war in Gaza. Okay. Israel launched. By the way, there's, Alif, I want you to go to a trailer called The Encampment. Click on that. Stop, pause it, and then share it along with on the screen. This is your second share now. Man, you're like a...
We're here to discuss the little Gazas that have risen up on campuses across America.
There is a movement to radicalize young people.
Can you believe they are chanting about the intifada in New York City?
I really believe they are brainwashed.
There was a very concerted effort by the media to portray things a certain way and refuse to discuss Gaza. Colombia is materially invested in the genocide in Gaza. We don't want our money to go towards Palestinian death.
I was born and raised in a Palestinian refugee camp. The university was cracking down on Palestinian activism on campus.
It's completely farcical to imply that in any way, like, Jewish people were being persecuted.
I have never felt more proud to be Jewish than when I was pushing our university to divest from genocide.
They would just criminalize anyone who would participate in a protest. That was the moment where students were like, we need to do something more.
The people they won't leave, but it's threatening about divesting and wanting peace.
The university would say like, oh, you're overestimating your power. I remember like telling them there are 60 universities setting up encampments across the United States.
We got Yale holding it down right now on live.
What you willing to risk? What you willing to give? What if you were in Gaza? What if those were your kids?
In '68, the students at Columbia took over the campus, mainly in protest of the war in Vietnam. Columbia talks about how it was okay then, but not okay now.
Bravery is very contagious. We kind of watched Columbia in awe, and we knew we were next.
The only weapon they have is fear, and when we call their bluff, they have nothing!
When you change in the middle, just do a cut.
What's up, everybody? Pete will order a pair of tips.
Find out for us, when is that movie coming out? That's a movie coming out about the encampments. After that, we're making Elif work hard today. Oh, it's already out. No, it's not March 28th, though.
March 28th of this year, no?
But it's March. March 28th.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's out already.
Yeah. Oh no, down there it says May 30. What is that? This one? The bottom, you go down on IMDb. Release date May 30. May 30?
That's in Ireland.
For the US, maybe.
Oh, it's already out. Ajib. March 28th. Okay, check this out. And if I want you to go back to and type in Abby Martin, Collapse of Israel. Collapse of Israel. Abby Martin, of course, is a Jewish journalist who look up for a video of hers. She has very strong things to say. Go back to Google and look that up. Because she basically starts announcing that the Zionist state is finished. Cannot survive this. It can't survive it. And I agree with that. I don't see how it's going to survive another 50 years. Way less, probably. When you solely exist on the back of the United States, and this much sentiment is against you, and the people who will be elected into positions in the next 20 years are not just the positions of government, private positions. The only way that the Zionists can keep their stronghold is through some form of oppression or other. And we're going to see if the U.S., the citizenry, is going to take that or not. If you look it up, if you can't find it, that's okay. It's a video. It's a clip. She's basically openly saying the Zionist state will not survive this. And that's like a forecast, not a prophecy, obviously. It's a forecast. You forecast things based on these factors. There's no way you're to survive. Maybe it's that one, yeah. Yeah. Let's watch this clip.
The Zionist regime has sought to maintain its grip on power, using violence and oppression to silence the Palestinian people. But the truth is becoming impossible to ignore. Israel will not survive if it continues down this path. Abby Martin, an American journalist and presenter, has boldly stated, people in Gaza need to know that it's the beginning of the end of the Zionist state.
People in Gaza need to know that it's the beginning of the end of the Zionist state. The Zionist state will not survive.
The reality is, Israel's survival is at stake because its actions are not just morally indefensible, but they are unsustainable in the long term. Abby Martin emphasizes that Israel's strategy of violence and repression against Palestinians is not a strategy for survival. In fact, it's a path to self-destruction. As she says, to stay in the same place, they have to kill and kill and kill. That's the only thing they know how to do. This isn't a strategy for peace or a solution to the conflict. It's a brutal cycle that will ultimately lead to Israel's downfall. The world is waking up to this truth, and there's no going back. The more people witness the barbarity of Israel's actions and understand the true nature of Zionism, the more Israel's narrative collapses. For years, the world has been told a story of Israel as the victim, but now that story is being shattered. Israel's actions are not those of a nation defending itself. They are those of an aggressor with no regard for human life. As Abby Martin puts it, there's no going back for them. The Zionist regime, with all its power, cannot escape the reality of its crimes. For years, pro-Palestinian advocates have had to defend themselves against accusations of anti-Semitism. But the tide is turning. It's not the advocates for Palestinian liberation who are on the defensive anymore. It's the Zionists. The tables have turned. Now, it's the supporters of Israel who have to justify their support for apartheid and genocide. The world is no longer buying into the myth that Israel's actions are justifiable. The truth is out, and it's making it harder for anyone to stand behind the Israeli government's actions. Abby Martin is at the forefront of this movement, speaking truth to power and calling out the brutal reality of Zionism. She states that Zionism is not just a political ideology, it's a colonial, racist, and genocidal one. It has oppressed the Palestinian people for decades, and the world can no longer ignore it. Israel's strategy of force and violence has been exposed for what it is, an unsustainable, immoral system that will not last. The world is waking up, and more people are standing with Palestine than ever before. The truth about Israel's actions cannot be hidden any longer. The idea of a progressive, democratic Israel is a lie. The Zionist state is built on violence, racism, and oppression. And the more people learn about it, the more Israel's support will crumble. Abby Martin reminds us that, at this point, anyone with a shred of humanity is on the side of Palestinians. The truth is clear. Apartheid cannot stand, and genocide cannot be justified. The world is no longer turning a blind eye to Israel's actions. It's time for accountability. It's time for change. Israel's survival is no longer guaranteed. The tide is turning, and the Israeli government is running out of time. The more people wake up to the truth, the harder it will be for Israel to maintain its grip on power. The world is demanding change, and the days of Zionist oppression are numbered. Abby Martin's words are a powerful call to action. The truth is out there, and people are no longer afraid to speak it. The Zionist state may have been able to hide behind its propaganda for decades, but now the world is waking up. Israel will not survive if it continues to oppress and kill. The end of the Zionist state is on the horizon, and it's a truth that no amount of propaganda can silence.
That's a great video. Go to Matt Walsh on Tucker.
Fastest growing scam of 2025 is spreading like wildfire and wiping out bank accounts. Matt Walsh.
Where is the... Looking at the comments here.
Before that video, this guy.
It's not common that Matt Walsh checked his reaction to it. It was on Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, see if there's and then find it. But in the meantime, here's the question: what is the Islamic basis of caring about the ummah? The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Man lam yahtam bi umur al-muslimin falaysa minna." Whoever is not concerned with the affairs of the ummah, the Muslims, is not one of us. Not one doesn't mean he's a kafir. Means he hasn't fulfilled the rights, his rights towards his fellow ummah. Okay, that's why we should care about the ummah. And these videos I think were really good. That last one, because it's not sustainable. You can't exist on your own. You need the U.S. to exist, and you totally have lost their support. Not officially, of course, and not at the establishment. It's a big, I would say, a thick crust that's not going to go anywhere soon. But where is the crust coming from? It's coming from the people. For example, amongst the politicians, business owners, industry leaders that care a lot about Zionism, right, these are regular people who found themselves, I can't really move up in the world unless I have strong ties with Zionists. But what happens now when those regular people, who will be the inheritors of these big positions in 20, 30, 40 years, they're like, no, I don't want to have strong ties. I can't have strong ties with these people. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen immediately, but it's festering very slowly. There you are. You got it. It's one of these. Is this one? Or? Yeah, listen to it, and then, yeah, it's probably that one. Listen to it, and then let me know. Yeah, this is it. This is it. So rewind that.
No, just change the edit the video. Crop it up properly.
Al-Madakhila, Yusuf Dawood is saying, yeah, this is a group that's a joke, basically, who they just follow their patron, who essentially, and they get exposed on the issue of Palestine because they have no
If you can't defend yourself as a nation, or if you can't survive without being propped up by another government, say ours, then you shouldn't exist as a country. That's just the way of the world. So
wait. If you can't exist without being propped up by another government, say ours, you shouldn't exist. Yeah. Israel cannot exist without being propped up by the United States.
You think so?
Its nuclear program came from the United States. Its weapons come from the United States. Its economy is supported by the United States. I'm not attacking Israel. I'm just saying, in point of fact, I think that's true. And I mean, Israel thinks it's true, or they wouldn't have armies of lobbyists and influencers in the United States. Bibi wouldn't have shown up twice in the past 3 months.
If you can't defend yourself as a nation, or if you can't survive without being propped up by another government, say ours, then you shouldn't exist as a country. That's just the way of the world. So
wait. If you can't exist without being propped up by another government, say ours, you shouldn't exist. Yeah. Israel cannot exist without being propped up by the United States.
You think so?
Its nuclear program came from the United States. Its weapons come from the United States. Its economy is supported by the United States. I'm not attacking Israel. I'm just saying, in point of fact, I think that's true. And I mean, Israel thinks it's true, or they wouldn't have armies of lobbyists and influencers in the United States. Bibi wouldn't have shown up twice in the past 3 months.
That's where we're headed, folks. I'm telling you.
Seems like a Freudian slip you had right there.
What's that?
Freudian slip, it's like you accidentally say what you really think.
No, what was the Freudian slip? I know what a Freudian slip is, but what was the Freudian slip? Yeah.
He's saying that, well, he just admitted that Israel is like propped up by America, right?
100%. But he's doing it in a clever way where he says, no, I think they can exist by themselves. Yeah. But he put out the point. He put out the argument, but then said the obvious thing that we all know is not true and they know is not true, that Israel can exist by itself. So how long is he going to last at the Daily Wire, which is run by Ben Shapiro? I always got his name wrong. Funny thing Yusuf Dawood is asking about the Madakhila is that the Madakhila do not believe in any kind of protest at all to any authority. Funny thing is that their Senate goes back to Khuruj. They're complete Khawarij, both in theology and in practice. As you can just go back to Sheikh Yasir Qadi's video that I did with him, and go back to Bro Haji's 45 video playlist if you just want to hear if you want to hear it in short video clips. Complete Khawarij. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, because this issue, these people are not really important. Junaid Khan, can you please address the Pakistan's triumph on your channel? Omar, you're heavily into Pakistani stuff, politics, and events. And Pakistan did annihilate, 10 weapons depots of India? Yeah, they annihilated 10 weapons depots of India. And a lot of people talk about Ghazwat al-Hind, and I hate to say this, but that has nothing to do with Ghazwat al-Hind. Ghazwat al-Hind probably already happened with Muhammad bin Qasim. And Ghazwat al-Hind may happen of another version of it, a bigger one, with Sayyidina Isa bin Maryam, but ultimately this didn't have anything to do with Ghazwat al-Hind, the prophetically prophesied Ghazwat al-Hind. But Pakistan did bomb and annihilate 10 weapons depots. And funny thing, I heard one analysis is that the Western nations stopped India from fighting and retaliating back just because their planes looked bad. Because India used French planes. Pakistan used Chinese planes. The Chinese planes outdid the French planes. The French...
It was the what's it called, the pilots.
Who was the pilots?
The Pakistani pilots are a lot better.
Yeah, so, but, and they're looking at it from a business standpoint, that people are going to blame our planes for not being as good as the Chinese planes. Although, like you said, it's the pilot too, right? So, an interesting analysis was that the real reason that the West made sure India just stopped is because our planes are looking bad, which are French made, probably many Western investors, of course, but the French planes were made to look bad and their stock plummeted. And the Chinese planes looked really good because these are planes that shot down the French planes. But like you said, it's like I thought to myself, well, isn't it the pilot? And what kind of plane is it that can't be shot down? Any plane could be shot down, right? But in any event, that was the analysis. And I was wondering, how could Pakistan have dealt such a blow to India and India not respond back? Must be Big Brother came in and said, stop, because our planes are looking bad here. And our, what is the French plane called? The Rafale plane. 300 million for a plane. The stock plummeted. So it's the Rafale or Raphael, I don't know. The owner stock falls. All right. After this battle and this loss, and the Chinese plane stock went up. So it's not that anyone even cares. They don't seem to care, about the actual people. They just cared about their money and their stock. Right? I don't know. Andrew Devanzo, have you heard about the probability that the Euphrates River will dry up by 2040? Yes, I have. And it's prophecy. There is a hadith about this, that the Euphrates would dry up before the end of time. That's one of the signs of the end of time. Alif, why don't you look up that hadith for us, to be exact. Talha Rizvi says it was the missile system more than the planes. Okay, yeah, but same idea basically, the weaponry. It's the weaponry. But thank you for that correction. It's the missile system more so than the plane. Person says, I'm ashamed to ask this Aqidah question. What is the incentive not to sin if Allah forgives all sins? Excellent question. And that sins hurt us. First of all, just because Allah forgives it doesn't mean you want to take advantage of that at a personal level, because we are worshiping Allah and it is a personal relationship. It is a personal relationship. So nobody will go to, let's say, their friend and say, Omar, would you forgive me if I threw something at you? Yeah, probably I forgive you. If I called you a name and got really angry and started throwing things at you and say, you're the worst producer ever of a podcast, but then I apologized and I bought you a gift, would you forgive me? Yeah, I would. That doesn't mean I should do it, right? So there is a personal relationship, just as we have it with humans, but at a far greater level and differently, of course, because the Creator does not need this personal relationship. We need one another. We both benefit. The Creator does not benefit from us. He may love us, but he does not benefit from us. So, but that transcendence of God aside, it's a personal relationship. So you don't just see where's God's red line and let me just go right up to that red line and abuse everything in this relationship. So that's number one. That's the first incentive. Don't you want Allah to love you and don't you want to be thankful? Like, doesn't it come from you? And there are some people who are selfish in nature. There are some people who they only call you when they need something from you. Do you want to be that kind of person? They only like you when times are good. Do you want to be that person? Does not Allah mention that in Surah Al-Fajr? When things are good, He says, Alhamdulillah, Allah bless me. When things are bad, oh, my Lord left me and He is now good. Do you want to be that type of person? So the answer is that there is a personal element where you should never want to disobey. And if people actually prayed, fasted, put effort in the deen, they would taste the sweetness of faith. And when you taste the sweetness of faith, as Al-Ghazali puts it in his book, and as everyone observes, it's greater than anything else. So much so that if a young person tastes the sweetness of faith, there's a high chance he'll sacrifice he won't work. He'll have no motivation for worldly things. And I remember very much the shiuch saying that when a youth tastes the sweetness of faith, he has to have a sheikh, so that the sheikh forces him to engage in the worldly life and forces him to get up to date, be involved, get a job, make money, dress nicely. He has to force him to do so because he becomes so enraptured with the love of his creator. Because Al-Ghazali, as he puts it, love of a thing, the gradation of it is based upon what senses the happiness. Your eyes can sense happiness when you look at a sunset. Your mouth senses happiness when you eat a cold ice cream cone. Your skin senses the happiness when you're in the sun on a summer day. Your ears sense happiness when you hear a harmony. And then your heart will sense happiness when someone says that they love you. Then your loins can sense happiness in the marital relations. And ultimately, your soul feels happiness when you please the Creator, when you are in line with in submission and slavehood and worship of the Creator. And that light shines upon your soul. So you have your heart, you have your physical body, you have your mind. Senses happiness when you see the perfection of an argument or an equation. And that's why people who teach math, they say this is so beautiful. They love it so much. Why? Because their mind, there is a pleasure of the mind when an equation lines up. Well, Al-Ghazali then says, all of those features, the mind, the eye, the heart, the loins, the stomach, all of these rest on the soul. The foundation of all of that is that you have a soul. Imagine now what pleases the soul. And this is what people don't understand. Non-religious people don't get it. Non-believers don't get it. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why do we put so much effort into this? Is because there's a sweetness that hits the soul. And once that happens, you just become, this is the number one priority for you. He said number one priority. It's a sign of a true religion that it continues to inspire the youth. And it's not inspiration through ideas or, it hits the soul. That's the number one reason you should not disobey your Creator. Before we ever get into, when am I going to be forgiven? How do I get forgiven? It's just, that's almost like a financial ledger perspective, which is true. There is a financial ledger perspective in our deeds, in our religion. And so we're not a company that says, all right, listen, look, I can take losses here, 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 here. We could take all these losses. We can enjoy all these ski trips, company ski trips, because this client is going to give us a bonus at the end of the year. It's like going to Hajj or something, right? And that'll actually pay for all these business expenses. And we could go out on ski trips. We could take the company meeting out in Vail, Colorado, and we can enjoy ourselves because I know that this company is going to give us a signing bonus. It'll wipe away. That's not the perspective that you want to have. Okay. That's a perspective with physical things, not with the Creator. Right? And that when I said that is a perspective, that's after the fact, not before the fact. So that's the answer to this question. Why should we care? What's the incentive? It's that we have a personal relationship with our Creator. And if you have that, a couple things will happen. You'll have a very good individual, private, religious life. When that happens, you have a limit on how much drama you're going to engage in argumentation, in anything. You're satisfied. You will have a limit on how much worldly pleasures you need. Because in yourself, you're satisfied. If you were to be put into a cell in jail for a few days, you could possibly handle it a lot better than everyone else because internally, in yourself, you're satisfied. And here's the beauty of it. Like, let's go back to Ghazali's system here. He says, like, you have the external pleasures of the body, then the pleasure of the mind, then the pleasure of the heart, and then a foundation is the pleasure of the soul. if the soul is satisfied and it has very little of everything else, that person will be a happy person. But if you have everything else, but your soul is a cavernous, dark hole with nothing good in it, then you will not be satisfied. And that's Hollywood. That's the people in Hollywood. I feel bad for them. They're sold a lie. When you get a guy like Brad Pitt, and I don't know if this is, sometimes you just hear rumors, but you get a guy like Brad Pitt, and they say like between shoots, and he went through a phase where all he does is get really depressed and drink and sit alone and like bumming around on the couch and drink, and he drinks a lot and he gets knocked out, right? He just knocks himself out. And I'm thinking to myself, by worldly measures, you at, I don't know how old he is now, 55 or something, you are more endowed than most people at 25. And you are more endowed, you probably have more pleasure just by walking around than most people for their whole life. You have probably more pleasure at the age of 55, you get attention, people want you, they want your business, they look up to you, all that stuff for your physical, worldly life. In 1 year, probably than most people their whole life. So if true spiritual happiness was by the outside, then there should be no therapists, no shrinks, no alcoholics, no drug addicts in Hollywood at all.
Was it Robin Williams? That was him, right?
Robin Williams killed himself. Robin Williams was a guy who was so successful. He was a comedian. He was a hilarious comedian that everyone loved. And he killed himself. There was an interesting experiment I was telling somebody yesterday about, that a guy took rats and he wanted to see how rats react to drugs. And he put them in the basement of the place where they make the experiment, wherever university, they gave him a basement. He threw a bunch of rats in there. He put food on one side and he put drugs in the water on the other side. And within a very short time, few days, the entire population of rats were crack addicts. Look it up, Omar. How do you know, Alif, how do you know about this?
I've heard the study before.
You heard about this. It's called the Rat Paradise Experiment.
Yeah, this study.
Okay. Now listen to this. I don't know if this one has it here. 100% of the rats became addicts and died of overdosing. Now, at some point, a person thought of something, and he said, hold on a second. This is not a one-factor experiment, because the rats were put in a dark and dingy basement. That's not where they live. Yeah. Let's change it up. And he went and he made an outdoor experiment area, and he threw a bunch of rats in an enclosed outdoor area where they could go up trees, go in holes, have leaves, have acorns, have all sorts of neat rat things and streams and puddles, and they're out in the sun, in nature. He said, now this is a better experiment. So now he puts the food on one side and he puts the drugs on the other side. 100% of the experiments of the rats tried the drugs because it was there. And I think he said 0% of the rats became addicts and died of overdosing. Oh, wow. 0%. They just dabbled in it, they tried it, and they left. Right? So what does that tell you? That tells you drugs are for people who have some kind of hole inside themselves they're trying to fill with the dopamine high. Muslims, probably practicing Muslims, may have a small hole inside them because we're not perfect. We're not great at everything. We're going to have problems. They're probably their dopamine, Muslims' dopamine, I'll tell you what, it's probably going to be in food. It could be in scrolling. It could be in other unlawful things, not as bad as drugs. It's hard for a practicing Muslim with a huge family and a community. It's even hard for him to get into drugs because your friends will smack you silly. They'll wake you up, right? Before you even get close to that. That's the benefit of the community. It doesn't mean that we're perfect. We need spiritual, constant, nonstop spirituality. Spirituality, when you think about it, it's not putting your hands like this and meditating like a Hindu. No, or a Buddhist. It's the thought in your mind of nearness to Allah and doing the actions and uttering the words and believing the beliefs that that Allah teaches in the Quran and the Hadith. That's what you have to think about. It's like you have to think, I'm drawing near to my Creator right now. I'm loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I believe I walk to Allah and Allah runs towards me. And it has the meaning that you're going to be close to Allah. And then I'm going to see, well, what can I do? And young people, when they make many things haram on themselves, and people say, what the heck is going on with this? You got the whole world in front of you. Why are you doing this? It's because there's a reaction. When I learned something was prohibited and I stopped doing it, there was a reaction deep in here. So what's the next question you're going to say? What else is haram, right? What else is haram? So you feel some rida of Allah comes right into your heart. You're not going to get rewarded in paradise first. First reward will be here, right in here. And so you say to yourself, oh, that was amazing. This feels great. My life is turning better too. My outward life is better too. So now you say, hey, ayyuha shaykh, what else is haram? Tell me what else is haram so I can avoid that too. Then you learn other things like different salah, different som, different dhikr, different sadaqah. And each one has its immediate kickback. All of this is the heart and core of our deen and our religion. And that's really ultimately why a person will not disobey Allah Ta'ala, even if he's going to forgive everything. Now let's take another perspective. Sins hurt you in this world. They hurt yourself and they hurt your life. Allah has forbidden something, He's always attached to it a bad consequence. Ibn al-Qayyim says, some hit your life worse than others. He says, for example, when a person drinks or commits zina or abuses somebody, he immediately wakes up the next day feeling terrible about it. But that is not the case when he takes riba. When he takes riba, nobody wakes up the next day, oh, I got a headache, I feel guilty, I feel terrible. Why? I engaged in a ribawi transaction. You never hear that from anybody, right? But what happens when you engage in a ribawi transaction, a usurious transaction, later on, the punishment comes to you. If Allah loves you, He punishes you in this life first. So Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya, he has a nice breakdown that how some sins, immediately they have a kickback against you and some sins don't. And on top of that, the immediate kickback is a sign of God's love for you. If I see a kid across the street that I don't know him at all, and he's behaving incorrectly, do I say anything? Of course not. It's not my kid. If I see a kid in the masjid who I tangentially know through his family, misbehaving, yeah, maybe on the 7th time, the 5th time, I might start to want to say something, right? Because I know him, he's closer to us, he's in the community. If my own kid misbehaves once, right away you tell him to stop. You're not going to treat him the same. So when a Muslim is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, immediately he's punished. And it's not punishment, it's purification. If it's with repentance, then you can consider, if you feel terrible, I should not have done that last night, I should not have done that to this person, immediately you feel pain, that's purification. It's not punishment. Tawbah is not met by punishment. Repentance is only met by purification. So that's another reason to commit sins. Sins will not make you happy in this life. So for your own self. Okay.
That was your answer, whoever it is.
So that was the answer. Yep. It has a question. Who is it and what is it saying? Is there an it? What about saying, I'm going to sin again and then I'll stop? You can't do that. That by itself is a second sin. Is Allah's speech flowing continuous and I sometimes feel like I don't want to pray in salah? How do I get rid of that? If you feel that you do not want to make prayer what does feeling have to do with it? Why do you need to feel anything to pray? Allah didn't give you a heart this day and made it beat for you? Don't you have to give him thanks? If your grandmother is at the door and you're sitting with your feet at the table and your grandma comes in the door, do you have to feel like standing up? You stand up. That's your grandma who gave birth to the one who gave birth to you. You have to stand up. You don't wait to feel the spiritual vibes in order to be thankful to somebody, to be polite to somebody. At the very least, salah is adab. At the very least, it's good manners with your Creator. At the very least, you have to have thankfulness. You have to have gratefulness. You have to have manners with your Creator. Fatima Khatun, what questions will be asked on the Day of Judgment? This is a good question, and everyone's going to be different. The best of us, the best of the believers and the martyrs will not be asked anything. They got what they call in the airports prepay, whatever it's called. TSA pre-check. Yal, ala tool. Straight to paradise. No stopping. Straight to paradise. No questioning at all. The next of those people, of those blessed believers, from all nations, from Adam all the way till the end of time, they will have hisaban yasira. Allah Ta'ala will bring them forth, and that person will be feeling from Allah, from the angels around him, a great day. Where it's just like, the valedictorian. You ever see this? And I hate to see this. The valedictorian, the super smart kid in class, they come on the day of the final, cheery, happy, because they know everything inside out. They've been studying all year. And yet, then there are some people who are completely miserable. They know they're about to get slaughtered in the final. Then there are people in the middle. They're like, I think I got this, but I got to study last minute. You have these classes of people. There is some people who will be questioned by Allah, and the sign that Allah will forgive them is He questions them in private. And the questioning is merely 2-3 formality, like it's a formality. 2-3 questions is what's called in the Hadith hisaban Quran, and the Prophet explains it, hisaban yasira, easy questioning, and he goes to Jannah. Then there's somebody who was good and Allah wills to forgive him, so he asks him privately. He questions him privately about his sins. Oh, Abd, what happened here? This is like the good student, but he has errors. He's got errors. What happened here? And Allah tells us about, the Prophet ﷺ tells us and laughs when he says, Allah asked him about this sin. What did you do? Man puts his head down. No excuses. I did wrong. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then he stops. There are more sins, but Allah doesn't ask him about them. And then Allah announces to him, you are such a good servant of mine, despite your flaws. I'm going to replace, for all these sins, I'm going to make them into good deeds. Then he says, oh, if that's the case, I got a lot more sins that we didn't talk about. And upon that, the Prophet ﷺ laughed so hard that that's going to be how people react, right? Then you have people who are, again, less than that. And they will have a serious judgment. But if it's done in private, that is a sign that Allah will forgive them. If you want to be forgiven, keep your sins private in this life and erase all tracks of those sins. So it will be a tough questioning. And the questioning itself will be the punishment. And then if a person's questioning is public, even if he's a Muslim believer, his questioning is public though, in front of everybody, this person will be sentenced to the hellfire. If he's sentenced to the hellfire, then he should hope for shafa'ah, intercession. And the Prophet ﷺ is the first person given intercession. Intercession means that it's a branch of divine mercy. you reached a level of sins that you're not going to have the honor of Allah forgiving you. That's an honor. You would not get that honor. But it could be just because you were attached to somebody good, that Allah Ta'ala will inspire that person to see you, to find you, and to pull you out and permit them. مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. He permits them to go and take this person out of the hellfire. So when people say, well, why do we need intercession? Why can't Allah do it himself? Because when Allah forgives you himself, that means he's speaking to you. That's an honor. And that person lost that honor. He lost that honor. And to give an analogy, and of course there's no true analogy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but imagine now your parents are upset with you. They send you up to your room. They then want to talk to you, they send your brother. Go and tell your brother this. So why is that? Why can't they come and talk to you themselves? That's a sign that I'm not fully pleased with you yet. There's still an issue here. There's not good between me and you. It's not good. But there is some mercy left. There's some door of goodness. I'll send your brother. And then it gets, okay, send him a sandwich. Then after that, and the ice has thawed, then Allah Ta'ala forgives them directly after that and admits them into paradise. We got to wrap up, but here is somebody saying, whenever I feel like not getting up to pray, I just think about Allah's reward, then I gain motivation. Yes, and I want to go something deeper than Allah's reward. Your decency, your own decency. You have to thank the Creator. Now, in human life, you may thank somebody once a month. There might not be a reason to thank someone every day. Maybe you thank your wife every day for food or for comfort or something else. But you don't thank people 5 times a day. That's a bit weird, right? But the people aren't beating your heart, making your stomach work, making your eyes work, putting a sun up in the sky, putting a moon up in the sky, making oxygen, producing more trees and more animals and more rain. So to thank Allah 5 times a day is actually a big discount. You should be thanked 50 times a day, because the initial prayer that Allah gave to the Prophet, peace be upon him, was 50 prayers a day. Then it was reduced on the counsel of the Prophet Musa, because the Prophet Musa had experience with people, and he said these people cannot do 50 times a day, and then it was reduced to 5 times a day. And each one is worth 10. So, in fact, the truth is, the Creator, the Divine, is not like people. You understand how you're supposed to thank people. Be polite with people. The Creator is infinitely greater than all of that and more deserving than that. How do people from other religions get happiness from their worship? Allah knows best what's in their hearts, and really the happiness in their worship, it's not going to be just from acclaim. We have to look at, is it passing down generation after generation, even in the worst of climates? Let's ask a simple question. What the best climate to test spirituality, to test what's real spirituality, is the modern world. Purely materialist world, where all the pleasures of life are present. That's actually, if we were going to do an experiment on, let's say, white chalk, we want to see who has the brightest white chalk. Which company can make the brightest white chalk? What you need is a blackest board in the first place, right? Because that's where the contrast is going to be. There's a great wisdom in why Allah created a dark, material, devilish world, and the internet really reflects that. Like, there is pure Satanism in terms of hedonism, and the pleasures are even weird now. Like, people's pleasures are bizarre. It's not even the old-fashioned. Like, sometimes, like, what? I'm thinking, guys, what happened to old-fashioned zina? Like, why you got this weird dark fantasies? Like, you know, you see like an old person, see the new types of hamburger. What happened to old-fashioned hamburger, right? Piece of meat, cheese, ketchup, lettuce, tomato, a bun. A Coke and fries. Why do we have to do this weird stuff of smashing it, grilling it, putting different paprika sauces on it, spices on it? Why all this? Just go with the old-fashioned thing, right? Sometimes, in a very weird way, I ask myself, what happened to the old-fashioned sins? Weren't they good enough, right? And these are sins. It's like the old-fashioned sinning of the 50s and 60s is purity in comparison to the weird tastes and desires that people have now, and the levels of depravity that people have. Of course, one of them made news that she wants to go with 1,000 men.
Oh, yeah.
And I think she ended up going with 100 men. At 30, she began to have to dissociate her mind from it because it was so terrible. Then one of the people wrote on the depravity of the world today is that now the pleasure is in to be able to urinate upon the person and in their mouth too. Oh, explain to me what happened to what happened to the human. The factory of humans has gone haywire, and has the hedonism is proving itself to be a detriment to humanity, because just on its face, it's as if there has to be a halt button, a stop button. This factory's got to stop. Whatever culture is producing this kind of anomaly, this kind of bizarre, and it's becoming normalized now. That this is and it's crazy. There's a world now of rights within this industry, rights and safety within that industry. The whole industry is unsafe and terrible, right? But they have now a genre of rights within it, and they discuss the issue of should people take extra money to be urinated upon and in their mouth. So hedonism, this is the result of it. So this kind of society is the dark blackboard. And now we're going to see whose chalk shines the brightest. Let's look at it objectively. Let's just look at the buildings. That's objective. Are churches going up or down in their existence? Every day, in Buffalo, New York, a church literally gave their building, gorgeous cathedral, Catholic cathedral, was literally just, I don't know who owned it, because I don't think the Catholic Church would ever give up property, right? I don't think they ever sell property. They don't need the money. But another organization had this. They literally just gave it to the Muslims, and the Muslims use it. Hustle and bustle, Buffalo, New York, very busy with it. Muslims use it. All throughout Europe, all throughout the United States, masajid are hubs of economies, because the dollar, property, these are objective measures. Money, property, these are objective measures. And I'm sorry to have to mention that, because I know some kids watch this, so we should have maybe mentioned that earlier, because it's beyond disgusting. But I only mention that to show how dark elements of this culture is. And that's the best way to judge if truly a religion is going to survive. It's going to survive here. And I personally think there will be only one true religion that will survive. Everything else, I think, will fade into obscurity or into identity. It's just identity. Like Hindutva is just an identity. Christianity, I mean, they got some arguments, but ultimately, what are you even calling to?
They're all liberal,
Yeah.
Like they all believe in like Western philosophy. Essentially, they're all Westernized in terms of their philosophy.
Yeah.
There's no actual Christian
Mhm.
like aqidah.
Yeah. And there's no sacrifice. Maybe they don't get married or they don't commit fornication and adultery. Let's see how long it lasts. Where are your churches? Where are the youth in the churches in comparison to the masajid? So it's funny that they're so worried about Epic City. You had the whole country and you failed. Like when Charlie Kirk goes on Christian nationalism, fine, I get it that this is what you believe and you want, and it's far better to me than atheism, right? And that other culture. But then again, why do you have a Christian nationalist movement when you literally had the entire country with no competition for like 200 years? There was no competition. You didn't have even Catholics for a period of time to rival your Christianity. Even you're both Christian, right? But you didn't even have that. You had the whole nation to yourself. Oh, by the way, the answer is that even before you got to this nation, your founding fathers didn't even believe in it. The founding fathers weren't Christian. They were deists. They were just like stuck with the people. They were stuck with the Christians. They had to throw in that language, but they actually didn't believe it. They were deists. Look it up. Thomas Jefferson was a complete deist. It's like saying it's a cop-out. Deist is a cop-out. It's basically like saying, all right, fine. There is God, but he created a clock and he left it. So in actual real life, there's no God. We'll decide everything. That's the cop-out of Thomas Jefferson. Because you can't come out and say you're an atheist at that time. One of the guys, I think it was Thomas Paine. Look up Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine, the author of how do you know this stuff, Alif? I don't know you were in. I thought you were a tech guy.
No, he's a medical, right?
Medical guy. Thomas Paine, I think it's with the I-N.
Not like this?
Yeah, Thomas Paine like that. Common Sense. The author Thomas Paine. Go type in religious beliefs. If people knew his religious beliefs, they would have never read his little pamphlet. Thomas Paine was a deist, rejecting the claims and practices of organized religion, particularly Christianity. He advocated for reason and individual thought in matters of faith, critiquing dogma and authority in works like The Age of Reason. If Thomas Paine's beliefs were known in the pubs as he's handing out these pamphlets, nobody would have followed him. And that's a fact. Let's look at the super chat. Hamza Azhar says, how long will you be in Toronto for? I'm going to be there tomorrow. I'm arriving tomorrow afternoon. But the first public event is Jum'ah.
We already got a better producer.
Is it possible for us to meet over dinner? Friday, if you come to the event. Or Jum'ah. And who knows what's going to happen between Jum'ah and the event. I'm available there in Toronto the whole time. What's the difference between a deist and a theist? A theist believes in God, but it doesn't answer whether or not they believe that God is giving us orders in life and involved with his will in the world. That's a theist, so it's a broad term. A deist is a very specific term. Yes, he admits that there's a God, but that God has nothing to do with the world. He made the laws, he spun the universe, and he let it go. Okay? And that's what the founding fathers were. So for someone like Charlie Kirk, is like, hold on, you just go to the start of the country, Christian nationalism, go to the origin of nationalism in terms of the United States. Your guys weren't, they weren't even believers. Okay, some of them are concerned that I called a cathedral gorgeous. Yeah, well, it's a nice, well, now it's a masjid, okay? So now I call the masjid gorgeous. But the answer is that you cannot, they do have a point. It's haram for us to glorify something meant for disbelief. And they're 100% right about that. But ultimately, the thing is, these churches and things, they're not even functional in the world. They're being given away. They're being sold. And that's the biggest source that, that's going to be the biggest reflection, I would say, anecdotal reflection of what the true religion is like, what are people following? That's it. We don't need to sit there going through proofs. Let's look at the actual scoreboard. What are people actually doing in their life? What's your view on Scientology? No, it's a joke. Saying, can you be a Muslim and a Scientologist? Scientology is a joke, isn't it? It's not a real religion. Can a fiancé pay a bride price in the form of Hajj? Yes, he can. The mahr, sadaq, can be Hajj. Yes, it can be. Where can I find even more answers to my question? Says person. Let's see. The person is going to be the last question that we got to run. We had a good stream, I think, today. What does Talha say?
Where in the Quran is it made clear that the Quran is not eternal or divine, and that considering it so will land you in hell?
Because Allah Ta'ala says, لِيَسْمَعُ كَلَامَ Allah. He calls it Kalamullah. Kalamullah, speech of God. That's Allah's speech. If you consider the Quran to be the speech of another creation, and if you dissociate speech from God, then you've committed blasphemy and disbelief. Also, how about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying in Surah Al-Haqqah that they said, إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا قَوْلُ الْبَشَرِ سَأُصْلِهِ سَقَرَ. It is the speech of a human. I'll burn him in the fire. سَأُصْلِهِ سَقَرَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even tells us that the people who say that, they're going to go to hell. So therefore it is God's speech. If it is God's speech, and that's his attribute, is pre-eternal, always existing with him. Okay? Because there is no hadith within God. There is no hadith, meaning something new that emerges within the essence of God. Therefore, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always existed within the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the next question is, Muhammad Amr, what's your opinion on Athari Creed? My opinion is that the book Qala'idul Aqyan is, I love the book. I almost read the entire book in one night. Aqidah book. It's like honey. I loved it. And specifically with the footnotes of Abdullah, Sheikh Abdullah. So that's the book you should get. Someone needs to translate it. Is Allah formlessness? Says nobody. Well, in that book, Qala'idul Aqyan, it states clearly that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is neither body nor in a location. So we say that God is not a physical material body. Why? Because he created all material bodies. He's not in a physical location in the world because he created all of them. Can we watch shows that have magic in them, or is it haram? I think that if it's like pointing to Satan and leading to that, then possibly could be haram. Thoughts on Mr. Jefferson's Quran? Yes, I do know that it's been confirmed that he owned one. But that's it. That's all I know about it. I don't know anything else. Person says the incentive not to sin. We just talked about it. Ayyuhal person. Person, did we not just talk about it for like 20 minutes? That wasn't enough incentive? Rewind. I hate to be harsh to the listeners and the callers, but I mean the commenters, but we literally just talked about it for, why can I find even more answers? What more answer do you need? Do you want to get burned? Do you want to be rude to your creator? Do you want to be miserable? All this should be sufficient. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. Unfortunately, I love being here. It is Wednesday. We will be here tomorrow. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. We have to go. I have to go. Everyone do the Wednesday dua yourselves, inshallah ta'ala, but I gotta run. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullah.
Aşkınla arasında yıldızlar kadar zikredin. Uslat şarabından için şu canı aşklar sızınlar. Ya kalbe şifa ver Allah.